So Prince William and Catherine just confirmed something that the palace has apparently been holding back for weeks. And honestly, the way this came out tells you more than the actual announcement does. King Charles's cancer is incurable. That's the word coming from royal insiders. And the phrasing isn't just scary, it's final. He will likely die with the disease. Not from it necessarily, not tomorrow, but the condition is no longer being treated as something the palace expects to beat. And the weirdest part, the palace didn't shake because of shouting. It shook because of silence. 5 minutes after the private confirmation reached the royal household, Prince William and Catherine made the announcement. Nobody was ready to hear. And the way they did it basically rewrote the entire family dynamic in real time. Before we go any further, hit subscribe to Crown Front so you don't miss updates, as this situation keeps shifting. Alright, so here's where it gets really heavy. Prince William didn't rush toward the announcement. He stood over it like a man staring at a sentence that had the power to split his life in two. Catherine stayed beside him, close enough to feel the change in his breathing, quiet enough to let him carry the first shock alone, and then came the line that changed everything. Senior royal duties would now be urgently reviewed. That single phrase mattered because it meant this was not only a health update, it meant the palace was preparing for a possible shift in who carried the crown's daily weight. Catherine watched Prince William read the final line twice. His hand tightened around the page, then slowly loosened as if even his fingers understood that anger could not change what had been written. That's not dramatic flair. That's the physical reaction of someone receiving news that rearranges their entire life. King Charles wasn't even in the room when the confirmation was prepared, and that absence struck everyone harder than any spoken warning. The king had always been the center of these decisions, the one signing off, the one whose presence anchored every major palace move. Now the monarch's silence became the loudest proof that something deeper had broken behind the palace walls. The sealed health update arrived after a private palace briefing, which is basically a controlled meeting where trusted medical advisors deliver confidential information before any public statement gets shaped. A medical advisor, in simple terms, is a doctor trusted to guide official decisions when a royal health matter affects public duty. That detail matters enormously because the family was no longer dealing with whispers or concern. They were dealing with a formal warning serious enough to reach Prince William and Catherine before anyone else stepped inside. That's not protocol as usual, that's triage. Prince William finally placed the paper down. He didn't slam it, he didn't speak over anyone. That restraint made the moment more devastating. Catherine saw not just the future king, but a son fighting to keep his grief hidden before the nation could even begin to understand it. She knew the words would be repeated across every screen, every home, every table. Yet she also knew the womb behind them belonged first to a family. A private instruction moved through the household with chilling speed, no unnecessary movement, no public denial, and no informal comment from any royal office until Prince William spoke. That order mattered because one careless sentence could shake public trust, and one false reassurance could make the tragedy feel like a cover-up. The palace wanted control, the family wanted time. But King Charles's condition had stolen both. Prince William looked toward Catherine before the final confirmation was released. She gave him no speech, only a steady presence, and that was enough. The prince understood that once the words left him, the tragedy would no longer belong to one room. It would belong to the monarchy, to the people, and to every person standing close enough to the crown to be tested by it. And as the words left Prince William's mouth, the tragedy stopped being only about King Charles's health and became a test of everyone standing closest to the crown. Behind the palace walls, the announcement landed differently on every heart. For Prince William, it was the sound of childhood fear returning in adult form. For Catherine, it was a call to stand beside him while the ground shifted beneath their family. For King Charles, it was the cruelest reminder that even a king cannot command time. And for Camilla, it was the beginning of a loneliness no title could soften. Prince William stared at the announcement draft as if the paper had become heavier with every word. The prince was no longer standing there only as a son. He was standing there as heir, meaning the next person in line to carry the crown when the monarch can no longer do it. That mattered because King Charles's health crisis had suddenly pushed the future closer, not as a ceremony but as a burden. The monarchy needed someone steady, and the future king knew everyone was already looking at him. Catherine placed one hand over Prince William's hand, not to stop him, but to keep him from disappearing inside his own fear. The princess understood his silence before anyone asked him to explain it. She knew the difference between duty and grief. She knew when the prince was choosing words for the public, while hiding pain meant for no one but family. Her calm mattered because if he broke, the whole room would feel it. King Charles had made one request before the announcement moved forward. The king wanted Prince William and Catherine to confirm the news. Not a medical secretary, not a palace aide, not some cold official voice. A palace aide, in simple words, is a trusted staff member who helps manage royal duties and private instructions. That choice mattered because the monarch wanted the future of the crown to speak with one voice. He wanted strength, but he also wanted tenderness. Camilla received the news separately, and the queen consort did not reach for anyone. She sat rigidly in her chair as the door closed, her face pale, her hand still, her title suddenly useless against the loneliness spreading around her. Camilla had stood beside King Charles through storms before, but this felt different. This was not gossip. This was not family tension. This was the king's body forcing the palace into decisions no heart was ready to make. A senior aide quietly removed a public engagement folder from King Charles's desk. Public engagements are official visits and appearances where royals represent the crown in front of the people. That small act mattered because it signaled what no one wanted to say aloud. Some appearances might never happen as planned. Prince William saw the empty space on the desk. Catherine saw his face change. Camilla heard the silence after the door shut and understood the old rhythm had cracked. The announcement had already shaken the palace, but the deepest wound was still hidden behind it. Prince William knew it. Catherine felt it. King Charles had prepared for it, and Camilla, alone with the truth, began to realize that the tragic confirmation was only the surface. To understand why this confirmation carried such devastating force, you have to look back to the moment that changed everything. Every royal crisis has a moment that later feels impossible to ignore. This one began not with a public collapse, not with a headline, but with a dinner no camera saw at Windsor. During what was meant to be a calm family evening, King Charles reached for his glass, stopped mid-con conversation, and looked toward Prince William with an expression that made the room fall silent. That was the trigger no one forgot. King Charles had entered that dinner determined to keep control. The king wanted one quiet evening, one calm discussion, one chance to speak about future royal duties without panic spreading through the household. Future royal duties simply mean the public work, state visits, ceremonies, and official appearances that keep the monarchy visible and active. That mattered because those duties were not just events on a calendar. They were proof that the monarch was still strong enough to lead. Prince William noticed the change before anyone named it. The prince had been listening as King Charles discussed scheduling questions, but then the monarch's voice weakened. Catherine looked across the table and saw his fingers press against the edge, as if he was holding himself steady through pride alone. The princess did not interrupt. She did not alarm the room, but she understood in that instant that this was no ordinary tiredness. This was the body warning the crown. King Charles tried to continue. He forced another sentence, then stopped again, and that second pause carried more fear than any confession could have carried. Prince William pushed back his chair, not wildly, not for drama, but sharply enough that everyone heard it. The sound cut through the room. The sun was gone for one breath, and the protector stood in his place. Catherine saw it happen. She knew the future king had crossed from concern into command. The dinner ended early. No grand explanation followed. No public words softened the moment. A confidential medical review was ordered after King Charles returned to his private rooms. A medical review means a serious check by trusted doctors to decide what the king could safely continue doing. That mattered because it moved the crisis from private worry into official preparation. The palace was no longer asking whether something was wrong. It was asking how much could still be hidden. Catherine later found Prince William alone in a corridor, staring toward King Charles's closed door. The prince did not speak at first. He simply stood there carrying the terrible knowledge that a father's weakness could become a nation's turning point. The princess stayed beside him, and her silence told him she had seen the same thing. They both understood the family had crossed a line it could not uncross. King Charles's private team began shaping a reduced duty plan without telling the wider household. That plan meant some responsibilities could be moved away from the king to protect his health. It mattered because every shifted duty would whisper the same truth. The monarch was not as strong as the public had been led to believe. The dinner exposed the fear, but the confrontation that followed exposed the fractures no one could hide anymore. The palace had survived scandals, resignations, family rifts, and national storms, but nothing felt as dangerous as the private confrontation that followed King Charles's health confirmation. No cameras, no carefully chosen balcony smiles, no polished statement to protect them, just Prince William, Catherine, Camilla, and King Charles in one room with the truth between them like a blade placed on the table. Camilla demanded an answer before anyone else could settle the room. The Queen Consort wanted to know why she had not been allowed to shape the wording of the announcement, why Prince William and Catherine had spoken first, and why King Charles's condition had been placed before the public with such painful honesty. The health confirmation, the official family statement about the king's serious decline, mattered because it did not just explain illness, it changed the balance of trust inside the palace. King Charles sat beside a small table, present but visibly worn by the weight of the moment. The king did not interrupt at first. He watched Camilla speak, then watched Prince William stand near the door, as if guarding both his father and the future, waiting behind him. The prince understood why this room mattered. If the family fractured here, the public would eventually feel it. If the truth became a weapon, the monarchy would bleed from the inside. Camilla said the words had made King Charles look weak. Her voice carried fear, but it landed like accusation. Prince William answered with quiet fury. He told the Queen Consort that hiding the truth would have made the family look cruel, and cruelty would have damaged the crown far more than honesty ever could. Catherine saw his jaw tighten. She saw Camilla's face harden. She knew grief was turning into blame. Catherine stepped forward before the argument broke open completely. The princess did not raise her voice, but her emotion cut through the room. She reminded them that King Charles was still sitting there, still listening, still human beneath the title. That mattered because the monarchy had already asked too much of the king's body. It could not now ask him to watch his family fight over how fragile he was allowed to appear. King Charles finally spoke through a documented private account, later recorded by a senior household note-taker. The king revealed that he had personally approved Prince William and Catherine's role in the announcement. He trusted them to protect the monarchy and the public at the same time. The crown, meaning the royal institution, and the duty attached to it, needed one steady voice. In that moment, the monarch made clear whose voice he believed could carry it. Prince William did not look victorious. The prince looked devastated. Catherine stayed close, knowing this was not a win for them. It was a wound. Camilla heard the second truth a moment later. Some royal duties had already been reviewed, and certain responsibilities could move to Prince William sooner than expected. The queen consort went still because that was the part no one had said out loud. King Charles lowered his gaze, and the room changed. The king had not only confirmed his trust, he had confirmed a shift. Camilla understood it. Catherine felt it. Prince William carried it. And from that moment, the crisis was no longer only about health, grief, or family pain. That question moved the crisis from emotion into control. And control was where the palace became most dangerous. Power inside the monarchy rarely arrives with thunder. It moves through folders, signatures, schedules, and who is asked to enter the room first. After the tragic health confirmation, one fact became impossible to ignore. Prince William was no longer waiting outside history, he was being pulled into it, and Catherine, calm but visibly shaken, became the person helping him carry what King Charles could no longer fully hold. Prince William sat with the duty folder open in front of him, but he did not turn the page. The prince knew what the folder meant. A duty folder is a private set of schedules, public visits, and official tasks prepared for working royals. That mattered because this was not just paperwork. Every page showed where the king might no longer appear, and every replacement line pushed the future king closer to a role he never wanted to inherit through fear. Catherine watched him struggle with the silence. The princess understood that stepping forward could look powerful to the world, but inside the family it felt like grief wearing a uniform. She told Prince William that protecting King Charles did not mean replacing him. It meant giving the monarch space to choose what strength still looked like. Her words mattered because the palace needed steadiness. But the prince needed permission to be a son before becoming a symbol. King Charles's reduced schedule was no longer treated like a short pause. The king's condition had turned it into a serious constitutional and emotional adjustment. Constitutional, in simple words, means anything connected to how the monarchy functions within the country's public system. That mattered because King Charles was not only a father trying to recover. He was the monarch, and every cancelled duty raised questions about who would carry the crown's work next. A palace aide entered quietly with a marked list from King Charles's office. The aide revealed through a documented household account that the king had already placed Prince William's name beside several engagements before the public announcement. The monarch had understood the decline earlier than most people around him. He had not been careless. He had been preparing. That discovery hit the prince harder than any command because it proved his father had been thinking about the future while hiding the pain of the present. Prince William looked toward Catherine and admitted the truth he had been swallowing all morning. He said he never wanted this moment to arrive through suffering. The princess did not rush to comfort him with easy hope. She simply reminded him that King Charles still had dignity, still had choice, and still had a son strong enough to guard both. The future king heard her, but the weight did not lift. It only settled deeper. Camilla discovered the shift when a decision that once would have reached her first moved through Prince William's office instead. The queen consort stood frozen when she learned that some instructions were now being checked by the prince before final approval. Camilla had feared grief. She had feared illness, but influence moving without warning felt like another kind of loss. She understood how quickly a crisis could rearrange the room around her. King Charles remained at the center, yet the machinery had begun turning around Prince William. Catherine saw it. Camilla felt it. The prince could no longer pretend it was temporary. Power had not announced itself with a crown or a speech. It had arrived through changed schedules, careful wording, and one father quietly preparing his son before the son was ready. By the next morning, the palace was no longer asking what had happened. It was reacting to what could no longer be undone. Morning arrived, but the palace did not feel awake. It felt wounded. The announcement about King Charles's health had traveled faster than any official could contain, and inside the royal household, every corridor seemed to carry a different kind of fear. Staff whispered over changed schedules. Aides removed names from briefing papers, and Camilla, standing alone beside a window, understood that the old rhythm had broken. Camilla watched an aide remove his next engagement card from the board. The queen consort did not ask him to stop. She only stared as the card disappeared, and her face shifted from disbelief to grief. An engagement card is a schedule note for an official royal appearance, and removing it meant the king might no longer attend as planned. That mattered because King Charles's absence would not be hidden inside palace walls. Every empty seat would speak for him. Prince William received the first call before the household had settled into the morning. The prince paused before answering because every ring now sounded like preparation, not support. A senior courtier, meaning an experienced palace official trusted with royal decisions, explained that emergency scheduling revisions had begun. That mattered because the family was no longer waiting to see what happened next. The palace was already changing around the king's weakness. Catherine stood close enough to hear Prince William's answers grow shorter. The princess knew those short replies were not coldness, they were control. She understood that he was being asked to prepare for a larger public role, not as ceremony, not as honor, but as an urgent response to King Charles's condition. The future king was being pulled forward while still trying to remain a son. Catherine saw the pain of that split before anyone else did. King Charles's reduced duties triggered private calls to senior family members. The king had not vanished from the center of power, but his condition forced others to move before the public saw the full shape of the crisis. That mattered because the monarchy survives on continuity. And continuity means the crown must appear steady even when the family behind it is shaken. Prince William knew this. Catherine knew this. Camilla felt it most painfully when another folder left King Charles's desk. The palace quietly drafted two versions of the next public statement. One sounded hopeful, the other sounded far more severe. Public statement is the official message released to the nation when the royal household wants one controlled version of events. That mattered because two drafts meant uncertainty. It meant no one could fully promise comfort. It meant the next words might either calm the country or deepen the wound. Catherine learned through a private briefing note that King Charles had specifically requested she remain close to Prince William during all future meetings. The princess absorbed that detail quietly, but it struck her deeply. The king was not only trusting his son, he was trusting her to steady him when duty became too heavy. Prince William looked at Catherine when she told him, and for a moment no title mattered. Only the fear between them did. Camilla stood alone again after the aide left, and the queen consort understood that grief had become visible through action. Cards removed, calls made, drafts prepared. Prince William heard the next instruction and did not move right away. Catherine watched him gather himself. King Charles waited behind a closed door carrying words only a father could say. When Prince William finally entered King Charles's room without aides, the crisis became painfully simple. A king, his heir, and the words neither wanted to say. For all the palace doors, titles, protocols, and polished statements, the turning point came in a room where none of it mattered. King Charles was not a symbol in that moment. Prince William was not only the heir, they were father and son sitting close enough for silence to say what pride could not. Catherine waited outside, and for once the monarchy had no shield between grief and truth. Prince William entered alone because King Charles had asked for it that way. The prince left Catherine outside the door, even though every part of him wanted her steady presence beside him. Private royal room, in plain words, is a protected space where family matters can be spoken without staff, advisors, or public pressure. That mattered because this was not about strategy anymore. This was about a father telling his son what fear had done to him. King Charles looked at Prince William with a softness the palace rarely allowed. The king knew the announcement had changed everything, and he knew the future king had carried the first blow in public. The monarchy now had to adjust to a painful new reality, meaning the family and the institution had to prepare for reduced duties, change roles, and heavier responsibility on the heir. That mattered because no one could pretend this was just a difficult week. It was a new chapter beginning through heartbreak. King Charles told Prince William he was sorry not for being ill, not for needing help. He was sorry the burden had arrived this way through fear instead of calm preparation. The prince lowered his head before answering. He said he was not angry at the burden. He was afraid of losing his father inside it. Those words broke through every royal distance. For a moment there was no crown between them, only love under pressure. King Charles reached for Prince William's hand. The gesture was small, but it carried years of things they had never said easily. The king had spent his life inside duty, and the prince had learned early how heavy silence could become. Now both men sat with the truth exposed. King Charles was still the monarch, but he was also a father, asking his son to be brave before either of them was ready. King Charles then revealed through a recorded private family conversation later preserved in palace notes why he chose Prince William and Catherine to confirm the tragic news. The king wanted the public to see continuity wrapped in compassion. Continuity means the monarchy does not appear broken even when one person steps back. That mattered because the people needed calm. But King Charles also wanted honesty. He wanted the nation to see the future without feeling abandoned by the present. Prince William listened without interrupting. The prince understood that Catherine had been chosen not as decoration but as strength. King Charles trusted her calm, her judgment, and her ability to hold the future king steady when grief threatened to turn into panic. The king also made one thing clear. Camilla had to be protected from humiliation, but she could not control the emotional truth of the announcement. The queen consort's pain mattered, yet the public deserved honesty more than palace comfort. Prince William rose slowly when the conversation ended. He did not look relieved, he looked changed. King Charles watched him go with pride and sorrow mixed together, knowing the son who entered had carried fear, but the man who left carried resolve. Catherine saw his face as soon as the door opened. She understood before he spoke. The private pain had been spoken at last, but outside the palace gates a nation was already deciding what the moment meant. By midday, the story was no longer contained within palace walls. It had moved into homes, taxis, offices, cafes, and crowded streets where people stopped scrolling and simply stared. The tragic confirmation about King Charles's health became more than a royal update. It became a national pause. And at Buckingham Palace, the public gathered not for celebration but for something quieter, recognition that an arrow was trembling. Prince William saw the first public reaction on a muted screen. And for a moment, the prince did not move. The announcement had dominated every conversation because he and Catherine had not hidden behind a cold office statement. They had carried the truth themselves. A royal update in simple words is an official message from the palace about something important affecting the family or the crown that mattered, because this update was not about travel ceremony or celebration. It was about the king's health and the future of the monarchy. Catherine stood near Prince William as the broadcasters replayed his words again and again. The princess heard one presenter frame the moment as a defining test for the monarchy, focusing on the prince's restraint and her calm presence beside him. That mattered because the public was no longer judging only the news. They were judging who looked ready to carry the pain. Catherine understood that her stillness had become part of the message. A small crowd gathered near the gates of Buckingham Palace. One elderly woman placed a single white rose against the railing and whispered that King Charles had looked tired for too long. Buckingham Palace, for viewers who may not know, is one of the monarchy's most recognized working homes and a public symbol of royal life. That mattered because people did not gather there by accident. They came because the king's health made the symbol feel human. Prince William watched that moment and turned away. The prince was not ashamed of grief. He was shaken because strangers had seen what he had been trying to hold privately since the Windsor dinner. Catherine noticed his reaction and stayed close, not speaking over the silence. She knew the future king could face a nation, but facing a nation's sorrow for his father was something different. A newspaper front page appeared with a stark headline about the king stepping back while Prince William and Catherine lead the nation through pain. The words landed hard across the palace because they made the shift feel official even before every decision had been announced. The front page is the main page of a newspaper, the place where the biggest story is placed for everyone to see. That mattered because the public had already chosen the image that would define the day. One broadcaster said the defining image was not a crown, not a balcony, not a golden carriage, but Catherine standing beside Prince William as he confirmed the hardest truth of his life. The princess heard the line later through a recorded media briefing, and it unsettled her. She had not stood there to become a symbol. She had stood there because the prince needed her, because King Charles trusted her, and because the country needed calm. Camilla heard the public reaction from another room, and the Queen Consort understood that the nation was already moving emotionally toward Prince William and Catherine. She felt the sting of it, but she also knew why it was happening. King Charles's illness had created fear, and fear searches for steadiness. The king had chosen where that steadiness should come from. The world had reacted with shock, but the final verdict belonged to the people who had lived the heartbreak from inside the crown. In the end, Snort's the tragic confirmation about King Charles's health did not destroy the monarchy. It stripped it bare. It revealed the fear beneath the ceremony, the love beneath the duty, and the cost of a crown passed through pain instead of celebration. Prince William and Catherine did not simply deliver news. They carried a wounded family through its most human hour and changed the meaning of leadership forever. King Charles accepted the reduced role with quiet dignity. The king sat down his pen after signing the revised duty plan and looked toward Prince William with pride instead of defeat. A revised duty plan means a changed list of royal responsibilities shaped to protect the monarch's health while keeping the crown steady. An engagement card is a schedule note for an official royal appearance, and removing it meant the king might no longer attend as planned. That mattered because King Charles's absence would not be hidden inside palace walls. Every empty seat would speak for him. Prince William received the first call before the household had settled into the morning. The prince paused before answering because every ring now sounded like preparation, not support. A senior courtier, meaning an experienced palace official trusted with royal decisions, explained that emergency scheduling revisions had begun. That mattered because the family was no longer waiting to see what happened next. The palace was already changing around the king's weakness. Catherine stood close enough to hear Prince William's answers grow shorter. The princess knew those short replies were not coldness, they were control. She understood that he was being asked to prepare for a larger public role, not as ceremony, not as honor, but as an urgent response to King Charles's condition. The future king was being pulled forward while still trying to remain a son. Catherine saw the pain of that split before anyone else did. King Charles's reduced duties triggered private calls to senior family members. The king had not vanished from the center of power, but his condition forced others to move before the public saw the full shape of the crisis. That mattered because the monarchy survives on continuity. And continuity means the crown must appear steady even when the family behind it is shaken. Prince William knew this. Catherine knew this. Camilla felt it most painfully when another folder left King Charles's desk. The palace quietly drafted two versions of the next public statement. One sounded hopeful, the other sounded far more severe. An engagement card is a schedule note for an official royal appearance, and removing it meant the king might no longer attend as planned. That mattered because King Charles's absence would not be hidden inside palace walls. Every empty seat would speak for him. Prince William received the first call before the household had settled into the morning. The prince paused before answering because every ring now sounded like preparation, not support. A senior courtier, meaning an experienced palace official trusted with royal decisions, explained that emergency scheduling revisions had begun. That mattered because the family was no longer waiting to see what happened next. The palace was already changing around the king's weakness. Catherine stood close enough to hear Prince William's answers grow shorter. The princess knew those short replies were not coldness, they were control. She understood that he was being asked to prepare for a larger public role, not as ceremony, not as honor, but as an urgent response to King Charles's condition. The future king was being pulled forward while still trying to remain a son. Catherine saw the pain of that split before anyone else did. King Charles's reduced duties triggered private calls to senior family members. The king had not vanished from the center of power, but his condition forced others to move before the public saw the full shape of the crisis. That mattered because the monarchy survives on continuity. And continuity means the crown must appear steady even when the family behind it is shaken. Prince William knew this. Catherine knew this. Camilla felt it most painfully when another folder left King Charles's desk. The palace quietly drafted two versions of the next public statement. One sounded hopeful, the other sounded far more severe.